Do you believe that a 12-year-old child can humiliate a millionaire in the middle of Times Square using only words? Today, I'm going to tell you the shocking story. I speak 9 languages. The girl speaks with pride. The millionaire mocks her but is left in shock. What you're about to see will completely change your opinion about underestimating people. This is the true story of Sophia, who left a billionaire entrepreneur speechless. But attention, the ending of this story will surprise you in a way you could never imagine. If you want to discover how she managed to go viral on the internet, stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal all the details. Hit the like button if you've ever experienced prejudice. Imagine for a second, you're walking down Fifth Avenue in New York, that street where each square meter costs more than an entire apartment in Brazil, when suddenly you witness a scene that would change your lives forever. It was a cold Thursday in November, and inside a luxury cafe called Le Petit Paris, something extraordinary was happening. Sophia was only 12 years old, but her eyes carried a wisdom that only those who have faced real difficulties possess. The daughter of Brazilians who immigrated in search of the American dream, she was there helping her parents during lunch hour. Brown hair tied in a simple ponytail, school uniform slightly wrinkled under the cafe apron. An ordinary girl, apparently. On the other side of this equation was Marcus Wellington, 52 years old, owner of one of the largest technology companies on the East Coast. $3,000 Armani suit, Patek Philippe watch on his wrist. The kind of man who never had to worry about the price of absolutely anything in life. Marcus had just come out of a meeting that hadn't gone as expected. A $50 million investment had gone down the drain, and his irritation was visible from miles away. When he entered the cafe, the elegant and silent atmosphere was immediately contaminated by his negative energy. Sophia immediately noticed the tension in the air. With the sensitivity typical of those who grew up observing every detail to survive, she realized that man was going through a difficult time. In her perfect English, without any trace of an accent, she approached gently. But you have no idea what this man said to this girl. It was so offensive that I almost can't believe someone could be so cruel. And the worst part, he didn't know he was being filmed by security cameras. Hit the like if you hate prejudiced people. Now you need to prepare yourselves mentally for what comes next, because what Marcus Wellington did at that moment was simply unbelievable. When Sophia approached politely and asked if he would like a cup of fresh coffee, his reaction was so brutal that it still gives me chills today. Marcus looked her up and down with contempt that froze the blood of everyone around. With a voice loud enough for half the cafe to hear, he said, "Listen here, girl. Do you at least know how to speak English properly, or do I have to draw what I want? People like you are exactly the problem with this country. Children who should be in school instead of working in places where they shouldn't be." The entire cafe stopped. The sound of cups hitting saucers ceased completely. Conversations were interrupted mid-sentence. It was as if time had frozen, and everyone inside was witnessing something deeply embarrassing. But Marcus didn't stop there. He continued, "You immigrants think you can just come here and take over everything, right? People like you will never get anywhere in life, so you better get used to manual labor, because that's all you'll ever be able to do." Sophia, who until then maintained a professional smile on her face, felt her eyes fill with tears. Her hands began to tremble slightly, but she didn't run away crying like any normal child would. There was something in those eyes of hers, a determination that even she didn't know she possessed. The other customers began whispering among themselves. An elderly lady shook her head negatively. A young couple discreetly took out their phone and started filming. Marcus, completely oblivious to the fact that he was creating an embarrassing scene, continued his venomous speech. "Guys, what do you think Sophia should have done at that moment? Run away crying or fight back? Comment below. And look, you can't imagine which was the first language she chose to respond with. It was a language that would change everything. And it was exactly at that moment that something extraordinary happened. Sophia discreetly wiped the tears from her eyes, took a deep breath, and looked directly at Marcus with a calm that not even an experienced adult could maintain in that situation. What came out of her mouth next left absolutely everyone jaw-dropped in impeccable French, with the most elegant pronunciation you can imagine. Sophia répondait, Monsieur, je comprends parfaitement l'anglais, et je suis ici pour aider ma famille de manière honorable. Nous ne demandons rien à personne, nous travaillons dur pour notre avenir. Marcus's reaction was instantaneous. His eyes widened, and for the first time since he had entered the café, he was completely speechless. Some customers who understood French began whispering, impressed among themselves, but Sophia was just getting started. Without giving Marcus time to recover from the initial shock, she continued now in fluent Italian. Signore, ho 12 anni e parlo molte lingue perché ogni persona che incontro qui mi insegna qualcosa di prezioso sulla vita e sulla dignità. Can you imagine the face Marcus made at that moment? A man who thought himself superior to everyone around, discovering that a 12-year-old girl spoke languages he couldn't even dream of mastering. And get ready, because this was just the beginning of the surprise. Sophia then switched to German. Herr Wellington, ich verstehe, dass Sie einen schweren Tag hatten, aber das rechtfertigt nicht, andere Menschen so zu behandeln. The silence in the café was deafening. Marcus Wellington, the same man who minutes before was humiliating a child, now looked like a fish out of water. He tried to maintain his arrogant posture, but it was visible that he was completely disconcerted. With some irritation disguised as superiority, Marcus muttered, Anyone can memorize a few phrases in other languages. That doesn't impress anyone. But guys, this was just the beginning. Do you think 3 languages are impressive? Wait until you discover how many languages this girl really mastered. And more importantly, wait until you discover how she learned all this. Her story will break your hearts. If you're enjoying this incredible story, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because there's still a lot of shocking stuff ahead. That provocation from Marcus was exactly what Sophia was waiting for, to show what she was really capable of. If he thought 3 languages were just memorized phrases, he was about to have the shock of his life. What happened in the next 5 minutes completely transformed that cafe into a real theater of surprises. Sophia looked directly into Marcus's eyes, and with a confidence that surprised even herself, began speaking in fluent Mandarin. Xiansheng, limbuzhadao wodegushi, wakongzeli de kerenali, xuexilek sudwo yuyan. Tamenduyu mieli delishi hewenhua. The cafe exploded in murmurs. A Chinese family sitting in the corner began applauding discreetly. Marcus was clearly lost, not understanding a single word, but realizing he was being completely outclassed by a child. But Sophia didn't stop there. She continued in perfect Russian, Gospodin Wellington, ja izuchayu yaziki, потому что каждый человек, который приходит сюда, делит со мной часть своей истории и культуры. A middle-aged man who was reading a Russian newspaper dropped everything and watched with admiration. He had never seen such a young child speaking his native language with such perfection. Then Sophia switched to Arabic. Sayyid Marcus, كل لغة أتكلمها هي هدية من شخص قدم لحكايته وثقافته الجميلة. At that moment, Marcus Wellington, the same man who minutes before thought himself superior to everyone, was completely paralyzed. His arrogance had completely evaporated, replaced by a mixture of shock, admiration, and, believe it or not, shame. But Sophia's final demonstration was in Hindi. Marcus Saheb, मैं सिर्फ 9 साल की हूं, लेकिन मैंने सीखा है कि हर भाषा एक खूबसूरत कहानी कहती है. हर व्यक्ति जो यहाँ आता है मुझे कुछ सिखाता है. And it was exactly at that moment that something incredible happened in the cafe. People weren't just watching anymore. They were moved. Some customers had tears in their eyes. Others were filming with their phones, completely fascinated by the intelligence and maturity of that extraordinary girl. Sophia then explained in English, Every person who enters this cafe has a unique story. Mr. Ahmed taught me Arabic while telling me about his homeland. Ms. Ling teaches me Mandarin and talks about her family in China. Sergei tells me stories about Russia while we practice Russian together. And Priya shares with me the beauty of Indian culture through Hindi. And that's when something happened that no one expected. Marcus, the same man who had humiliated Sophia minutes before, did something that left everyone in shock. Can you guess what it was? Leave your guesses in the comments. But the 9th language that Sophia spoke was special. It was a language that had a direct connection to Marcus's life. When he discovered what it was, his reaction was epic. But you're not prepared for what happened next. Because the 9th language that Sophia mastered was about to create an emotional connection that would change everything between her and Marcus forever. With a gentle smile and impressive maturity for her 12 years, Sophia began speaking in fluent Japanese. Watashi no obasan wa Nihon de hataraite imashita. Kanojo wa itsumo watashi ni Nihon no bunka no utsukushisa ni tsuite oshiete kuremashita. Nihongo wa to omoiyari no gengo da to oshiete kuremashita. Marcus Wellington literally froze. His face went pale and his hands began to tremble slightly. For the first time since he had entered that cafe, tears began to form in his eyes. Something deeply intimate had been touched within him. Do you want to know why? Marcus's deceased wife Yuki was Japanese. They had married 15 years earlier, and she had died in a car accident just 2 years ago. Marcus had always bitterly regretted never learning Japanese to better communicate with her family in Japan. It was his greatest guilt and regret in life. Sophia, noticing the radical change in Marcus's expression, continued in Japanese. Obasan wa itsumo, kotoba wa kokoro o tsunagu chikara ga aru to iimashita. Hito wa minna onaji kokoro omotte iru no ni, kotoba no kabe de wakarete shimau koto ga aru to. Marcus could no longer contain himself. Tears began streaming down his face, and for the first time in a long time, he remembered his humanity. He remembered how Yuki always talked about the importance of treating all people with respect and kindness, regardless of their origin. Sophia then gently translated to English. My grandmother always told me that words have the power to connect hearts, that all people have the same heart, but sometimes they get separated by language barriers. The atmosphere in the cafe was completely transformed. The people around were no longer just watching an argument. They were witnessing a moment of profound human transformation. Marcus Wellington, the arrogant millionaire businessman, was being confronted with his own humanity by a 12-year-old girl. With a choked voice, Marcus whispered, How did you know? My wife was Japanese. She died 2 years ago and I never learned her language. I always regretted that. Sophia, with compassion that surprised even the adults around, replied, I didn't know. Mr. Wellington, but maybe your wife sent this message through me today. Guys, what happened after that will make you rethink everything about giving second chances. Marcus took an action that surprised even Sophia. But before I tell you, answer me in the comments. Do you believe people can truly change? And the most incredible thing was yet to come. Because this story doesn't end at the cafe. What Marcus discovered about Sophia afterward would change her life forever. And it was at that moment that we witnessed something that rarely happens in real life. A genuine and instantaneous human transformation. Marcus Wellington, the same man who minutes before displayed contempt and arrogance, did something that shocked absolutely everyone present in that cafe. He stood up from his chair, walked slowly to where Sophia was, and in front of all the customers who were watching that extraordinary scene, he knelt down. That's right, guys. A millionaire businessman knelt before a 12-year-old girl and began apologizing with tears in his eyes. Marcus, with his voice completely choked, said, Sophia, I deeply apologize for my unacceptable behavior. There is no justification for what I did. You showed me today something I had lost long ago, humility and compassion. I was wrong, completely wrong, and you have every right to hate me. Sophia, with maturity that moved everyone, helped Marcus stand up and replied, "Mr. Wellington, I don't hate you. Everyone goes through difficult moments. What's important is that you recognized your mistake, and that shows you have a good heart." The cafe exploded in spontaneous applause. Some people were crying openly. That moment was being filmed by at least 5 different phones, and everyone knew they were witnessing something special. Marcus then asked, "Sophia, tell me about yourself. How does such a young girl manage to speak so many languages with such perfection? Where do you study? How can I help?" And that's when Sophia told her real story. She was the daughter of Brazilian immigrants who worked 16 hours a day to survive in New York. She studied at a public school during the day and helped her parents at the cafe in the afternoon. Her dream was to study linguistics at a famous university, but her family didn't have the financial resources for that. Sophia explained that she had learned all those languages by talking with regular customers at the cafe, using free apps on an old phone she had received as a gift, and studying books borrowed from the public library. She was completely self-taught. Marcus was impressed not only by Sophia's intelligence, but by her dedication and determination. He realized he was facing extraordinary talent that was being wasted due to lack of opportunities. If you're moved by this transformation, hit the like button and share this story with your friends. And subscribe to the channel because the ending will be even more surprising. See the difference between having money and having real education. Marcus had millions, but Sophia had something much more valuable. But get ready, because what Marcus Wellington did next was something no one in the cafe expected. After hearing Sophia's touching story, he made a decision that would change that girl's life forever. And no, it wasn't just giving some coins or an empty compliment. It was something much bigger. Marcus looked directly into Sophia's eyes and said, "Sophia, I have a proposal for you. I want to pay for your studies in full. I'm not talking about just any school. I'm talking about the best private preparatory school in Manhattan, followed by whatever university you choose. Harvard, Columbia, anyone." The silence in the cafe was absolute. Sophia was completely speechless, as were her parents, who had come from the kitchen after hearing all that commotion. The people around could barely believe what they were hearing, but Sophia, with impressive wisdom, hesitated. "Mr. Wellington, I don't know if I can accept this. I don't want you to do this out of pity or because you feel guilty about what happened." Marcus shook his head and replied, "Sophia, this isn't charity or pity. This is an investment in the future. You have extraordinary talent that cannot be wasted. And more, I also have a job proposal for you." And that's when Marcus made an even more surprising offer. "When you graduate, I want to hire you as Director of International Communications for my company. You would be responsible for facilitating our global expansions using your linguistic skills." But the most touching proposal was yet to come. Marcus, with tears in his eyes, said, "And if you accept, I would like to learn Japanese with you. My late wife always wanted me to learn her native language, and I never had the courage. Maybe you can help me connect with her memory." Sophia, moved, accepted both the study opportunity and teaching Japanese to Marcus. She said, "Mr. Wellington, it would be an honor to help you connect with your wife through the language she loved." Sophia's parents were crying with emotion. Other cafe customers were filming everything, completely moved by that extraordinary transformation they were witnessing. Guys, what would you do in Sophia's place? Would you accept help from someone who had just humiliated you? Comment your opinions. And attention. What happened in the following months was even more incredible. But this story has an ending that no one expected. Sophia made a decision that surprised even Marcus. Can you imagine what? And now we come to the most incredible and inspiring ending you can imagine. 6 months after that transformative encounter at the cafe, Sophia's life had changed completely, but not just in the way everyone expected. What she did with the opportunity she received will move you deeply. Sophia not only accepted the scholarship and began attending Manhattan's most prestigious preparatory school, but she created something revolutionary that no one expected. Using the resources Marcus made available to her, She founded a social project within the school called Bridges of Words. The project offered free language classes for children of immigrants from all over New York, taught by the preparatory school students themselves. Sophia transformed her personal experience into a bridge to help other children who were going through the same difficulty she had faced. Marcus not only became the project's biggest sponsor, but also completely transformed as a person. He learned fluent Japanese with Sophia and finally managed to communicate with his late wife's family in Japan, creating an emotional connection he thought he had lost forever. But the most incredible surprise was yet to come. The video of that encounter at the cafe, filmed by the customers who were present, went viral on social media with over 50 million views. Sophia became a global symbol of perseverance, intelligence, and forgiveness. She was invited to famous television programs, gave lectures at universities, and even spoke at the United Nations about the importance of intercultural communication. At 14, Sophia already mastered 12 languages and had become one of the most influential young people in the world in the field of linguistic education. Marcus, for his part, completely restructured his company to focus on social and educational projects. He hired Sophia as a special consultant even before she completed high school, and together they created a foundation that has already benefited more than 10,000 immigrant children in the United States. The Bridges of Words project expanded to more than 50 American cities and 15 different countries. Sophia proved that when you transform your pain into purpose, you can change not only your own life, but the lives of thousands of people. And today, Sophia is 16 years old, speaks 12 languages fluently, was accepted to Harvard with a full scholarship to study applied linguistics, and already works part-time as a consultant for Marcus's company. She proved that knowledge, respect, and compassion are more powerful than any prejudice. Marcus always says that Thursday at the cafe was the day he was truly born as a human being. And Sophia always responds that everyone deserves a second chance to show who they really are. If this story inspired you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this. Comment which part moved you the most. And tell me, do you believe in the transformative power of forgiveness and education?